All right, so good morning, everyone. Hope everybody's doing great. Everybody is all right. So today we're gonna look at 401, couple formulas, and that'll be it for today. We're looking at simple interest, and the simple interest formula is I equal to P R T. That's P times R times T. And you see that I is going to represent the interest earned. P is your principal, your deposit, or your loan, depending on the wording of the problem that you're dealing with. R is your rate, which you're going to convert to decimal before you do your calculation. And time is always going to be in years. Mhm. Yep, yep. All right, so when it comes to time, like I said, it needs to be in years before you do the calculation. So if it's not in years, that means you need to convert it to years. So just likely, we had the term, well, not term, but we had the time span of 24 months. We already know that that's 2 years. The way we would calculate that is we take the 12 months that's in a year divided by, or divided into 24, and that's how we get our 2 years. So if something is not divisible by 12, though, you keep that same thought process, though. So if I have 13 months, I still put that 13 over 12 to convert it to years. And you keep the same thought process. As I hold on to the blue up top. Keep the same thought process when it comes to weeks or days. So if it's 37 weeks, you would put that 37 over 52 because there are 52 weeks in a year. Now, when it comes to days, there's 365 days in a year, 366 on a leap year. But for our calculations, our financial calculations, we use 360. They call that banker's rule. And so I heard two rationales as to why they use 360. One is that there are five major banking holidays. And then I've heard another one just says 360 is easier to do the calculations with. So either or, just remember 360 is what we use for days. And we convert days to years. All right, starting up on purple. All right, so it says find the simple interest after 2 years on $500 at an interest rate of 12%. All right, so whenever it comes to these word problems, what I like to do is to go ahead and list out. I'll give them pieces of information and make sure you line them up with the proper variables. $500 is our P, that's how much we start off with. That's going to be our principal. R, our rate is 12%. Make sure you convert it to a decimal before you do your calculation. So that turns into 0.12. And then our time is 2 years. So if all I want to do is calculate the interest earned after, in this case, 2 years, I would take the 500 multiplied to the 0.12 times with 2, and that'll give me $120.
So when you put this in the calculator,
Mhm.
it will follow exactly that formula as long as you use the parentheses.
Right. And so, as your classmate mentioned, for those who may be on Zoom, how I put it right there in your notes is exactly how you could put it in your calculator, how you should put it in your calculator. And so if you do not have a calculator that does not have the capability of putting the parentheses in, just like it's showing to you on notes, then it would be to your best or would be in your best interest to find something reliable that can do that, especially when we get into compound interest, which is the next section. The formulas that we use kind of need you to do that unless you're willing to do step by step using the order of operations and whatnot. And then what's going to happen there is that sometimes, unfortunately, you can give yourself more opportunity to make a mistake once you start doing stuff step by step versus just putting it in the way you see it and letting the calculator do that part, because that's not the focus of our assignment. Our focus is to make sure we know how to use these formulas correctly and plug in our values and get the proper answer. All right. So, so if you don't have a scientific calculator that can put in parentheses right on the screen, there are things online like Desmos scientific calculator is one that lets you do that. I'm pretty sure there are other things as well. But just keep that in mind. There are free things. I'm not asking you to spend any more money, but there are free things that you can rely on in order to be able to calculate these values. So somebody asked a question about tests. Yeah, for your tests, you do need to show work, whatever work it took in order for you to get those answers. You don't have to bring it to class. If you want to just take a picture with your phone and just shoot it to me an email or something like that, scan it, you can. I don't mind you sending it to me through email. It's not a problem. All right, so for the next example, a college graduate borrowed $2,400 at 10% simple interest for 8 months to buy a used car. Find the simple interest he paid. All right, so just like the last one, just set up your given pieces of information first before we start plugging into the formulas. P, our initial amount, the amount that's borrowed is $2,400. Our rate is 10%. So as a decimal, that is 0.1. And then our time is 8 months. But remember, it has to be in years before you plug it into the formula. So take the 8 and place it over 12. Now notice you have 8 over 12. That can reduce to 2 over 3. It does not matter which one you use. They both represent the same number. It's just that one is simpler than the other. Remember, you put it in a calculator. So if you just want to put 8 over 12, it's still going to give you the same number. So 2,500 times 0.1 times 2/3, or 20, I said 2,500, 2,400 times 0.1 times 2/3, or the 8/12, either or, will give you 160.
Will they still be the same if we use that real?
In front of the point?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be the same. Yep, 0.1 and 0.1 are the same. All right. Second part of this problem says find the total amount paid for the loan. Now, I is equal to the interest earned. That's not the total amount. For those who don't know about how loans work, or may have never dealt with a loan, whatever you borrow, you have to pay that back too. So it's what you borrow plus the interest earned. So that's what we have here. The principal plus the interest is what that total amount will be. And that total amount, the letter we'll use for that is A, and it's sometimes referred to future value as future value. So A is our future value. And that's equal to P plus I. So that's 2,400 plus the 160, and that'll be 2,560. All right, everybody good? Not too bad, right? So next formula, I think it's the last one for this section. Yeah, but anyways, A equal to P times 1 plus RT. Now this one calculates the future value. So remember before, all we did was calculate the interest, and in order to find the future value, we had to add it to our principal. This one just calculates the future value. So when you look at these word problems, you know, between 4.1 and 4.2, make sure you pay attention to the wording, because it's going to tell you specifically what they want. So if they just asked for the interest, it was the formula we're using initially. If it asks for the actual future value, then you have to use this one. You know what I mean? So it's going to tell you, you just have to pay attention. Just like, it's, you know, this section is simple interest. The next section is compound interest, which is another set of formulas. But once again, they will tell you if you're paying attention. So A equal to P times 1 plus RT. All right, so a loan of $1,060 has been made at 6.5% for 3 months. Find the loan's future value.
So that'll be right after um, the, decimal.
Right, that one.
Yeah.
That one.
Placeholder.
That one counts, right? The one to the left of the decimal doesn't
Doesn't
matter,
matter.
but the one to the right most definitely carries weight. Yep,
Yeah, that would be 65 versus.
0.65 versus, yep, 0.065, right. Yeah. Mhm. So for those of you, your classmate asked about these zeros right here, which one matters, which one, just clarify which one matters and which one doesn't. So the one to the left of your decimal, you can drop that one if you don't feel like writing it, but this one to the right, that most definitely carries weight. You know, so 0.065 and 0.065 are the same. You need this one to the right, the one to the left of your decimal, you do not need. So we have our 3 pieces. You have our principal at 1,060, rate 0.065, and then times 3 months. But since it's not in years and we converted years, I'm placing that 3/12. And then we can plug it into our calculator, plug into our formula, excuse me, and then plug into the calculator. So that's 1,060 plus or times 1 plus 0.065 times 1/4. And that give you 1,077.23. Don't forget we're dealing with cents. So you will round to the hundredths place unless they tell you different, you know, but normally it's 2 decimal places because of cents. Dealing with money. Yeah.
hold on, so. Why is this 1,000? For the blank fees are crazy. I mean, now I see it, but why is? So the time frame that on the inside, but then it's another set of brackets.
Yes, so if you're following the order of operations, you go to your innermost calculation first. So you do the 0.065 times the 1/4. Well, really, you have to do 1/4, which is 0.25.
Right.
Then 0.25 times the 0.065. Then add that to 1, and then multiply it times the 160.
Well, why was the one?
Why is the 1 there?
Yeah.
So once you go past that, you're going too deep. Now I can explain it.
No, don't even worry.
Well, look, it's a simple explanation. If you go back to remember this formula right here, P,
Mhm.
what is I? I is PRT. Remember?
Okay.
So if I were to put PRT right here, and then remember how we factored, I think, didn't you ask me about S, remember the time? And you pull the P out instead of the S,
Mhm.
you'll get this.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But see, that's why I say when you start asking why, it'll take you, and see, you
That's
know.
why I said don't. Okay.
Ain't my fault, y'all. She asked why, so that's this. We got one more, y'all, and then that'll be it for this section. Unless y'all want to go into 4.2. So you borrowed $2,500 from a friend and promised to pay back $2,655 in 6 months. What simple interest rate will you pay? All right, going up on that red. So let's look at the pieces of information that we have and look at what we're really trying to find in this case. So they give us the initial value, the initial amount that we're borrowing is 2,500. They actually give us the future value, which is 2,655. So that's why A is given to us in this case. Or you see A down there at 2,655. That's our future value, what we want to or will pay in 6 months. And then our time, like I just mentioned, is 6 months. And to plug that into the formula, put that over 12. And that's our given information. And so it asks us what simple interest rate will you pay? And that's why I have the question marks beside the R. That's what we're trying to figure out. All right. So you plug all 3 of those pieces into the formula accordingly. Notice what we have here is 2,655 equal to 2,500 times 1 plus R times the 1/2. All right, so I went ahead and turned this 1/2 to a decimal, 0.5. Some people may be able to process it easier that way, so I just went ahead and did it. So now our goal is to solve for R. I need access to R, but I do not have that access because it's in the parentheses. So what I'm going to do is to distribute that 2,500. So I can get rid of the parentheses. So that 2,500 times 1, which is 2,500, Then 2,500 times the 0.5 is 1250. You don't believe me, it's still in the calculator, it's all good. So now we have 2,655 equal to 2,500 plus 1,250 R. We subtract both sides by 2,500, that'll be 155 equal to 1,250 R. Divide both sides by 1,250. And R is equal to 0.124, or in other words, 12.4%. Of course, weather sign will let you know which one they want. All right, questions. All right, so that is the last example, 4.1. Any questions on this before I stop recording? Make sure everybody's good. So just like with last week, I'll send out all the recordings. I gotta send y'all this one, 3.4, and I got 4.2 because we missed that class, so I got 4.2 for y'all here. But we'll talk about we will actually talk about 4.2 next class, but you will see that one as a part of our lectures. So let me go ahead and stop this.